Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shared Screens Media Club. Today, we're going to be talking about Ted Lasso Season 3. I'm your host, Alec Bobko, and I'm joined by Jordan and Leeron. How you guys doing tonight?
I feel like I did after BoJack Horseman's series finale. Just empty and like kind of happy, but like also sad. I'm just like I'm having a lot of it's a very bittersweet feeling.
Leeron convinced me to watch this show,
You're
and
welcome.
I'm thankful for it. But I also watched it like last summer on a plane, so in less than a year, the show was just taken from me.
Jeez.
It has not even
In
been a
Jordan's
year since I
mind
watched
forever,
the
it's like
first
Ted
episode.
Lasso was out for 1 year.
Yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
Tiger King of Apple TV.
Oh my gosh.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
So, we're just gonna, it's, obviously spoilers, so if you have not seen Season 3 in its entirety, go watch it, come back. It's a nice, easy binge, 12 episodes, all anywhere from, 40 minutes to an hour, 15, so you can
Yeah.
get through it pretty quick. But yeah, I guess let's start off just going by some of our favorite moments.
Oh, wait. First off,
yeah.
I will also be. This is a joke to anyone listening. This is a joke. I'm going to be burning Jason Sudeikis' house down because how the fuck do you. Hannah Waddingham didn't sing once during the season. You've given it to me at least once every season. Why did I not get it? And then to have Sam mention, oh, we're going to have live band karaoke in an episode, and then not give me Hannah Waddingham singing live band karaoke was an affront to me personally.
Yeah, that should have been one of the like, hey, we'll make this like a seasonal tradition. We'll let her sing.
Right? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I really I'm really upset about it. Anyway.
All right, Jordan, what was one of your favorite Season 3 moments?
There's so many good moments in this season. I really think not just the whole like bit as a whole, but when they were all running with the string around their dicks. The specific moment I think that got me, not even the whole bit, it's just when the one comes down from Jamie's and like Danny's like, I'll look, like I don't, and he just takes a peek and he goes, it's okay.
I was dying laughing at that.
I love Danny because Danny is such an embodiment of not even just like positive masculinity, like everybody says about the whole show, but like truly just being like humans are beautiful creatures. Their bodies are not, it's not anything taboo. It's just we are all beautiful God's children.
Yeah.
Like he is like a stereotypical 1970s hippie all the time. And I love him.
And like they're all in the locker room. I assume they've all seen all of the others' dicks, but it's like they're like, oh, we're about to see if like this is still there.
God.
But then you get that turn with him in was it the break episode?
Yeah.
Where he just turns on Zoro.
Yeah, just fucking switches and like. I like how to him he's like, oh, it's not personal. It's just this is the nature of the business. You're on my team. I love you, but if you're not on my team and I'm going against you, I will fucking hate you.
Yeah, but it really looked like Danny was like taking out some rage that we didn't know he had.
Yeah, and I also feel like as Zoro, you're like, where the fuck is this when we're playing, bro?
Yeah, you've never broken the opposing team because like if I was a goalie and like Danny just like did one of those like flip kicks he does and got it in, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's normal. You're still pulling a really hard move on me because you're on Mexico's team right now, not mine. You've never hit another goalie in the face, ever. You have never done that. In the West Ham game, when we were all full of rage and freaking, getting yellow and red cards, you didn't hit somebody in the face with a fucking soccer ball. Like, so don't tell me this isn't personal, Daniel.
I'm almost wondering if for that it's more like the almost I guess patriotism for the country.
Yeah, I think that played into it as well. Of like he's
it's not just AFC Richmond. It's from Mexico.
He's representing his country, and like they chose him, and it's probably maybe for all we know, he's like the most popular player on that team, and they're all hyping him up like the fucking Danny Rojas is here again.
I have been in love with that character since he skipped onto the field singing his own name for the first time.
Mucho joy.
Mucho joy. I love Danny.
I would have appreciated a final football is life from him though.
I really thought when he handed Isaac the ball that he was going to be like football is life and then walk away, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Aaron, how about you?
A favorite. Ooh, okay. We're gonna get a little emotional, friends. We're only 5 minutes in. I'm very sorry, but this is
we want to get
truly my favorite
emotional.
moment. My favorite moment is the wanker scene with Rupert.
Yes.
And why I will go into this is like, I think I've talked about it on content before that Rebecca as a character is wildly important to me. I love her. Like, I relate to her on a very, very like deep level, and like her whole journey has been really, really important to me. And them putting in, there's kind of a mentality when you are at least a woman in America that if a rich white man does anything, nothing's going to change. Like, he's still going to keep doing it. And the thing with Rupert is we see that he does keep doing this kind of shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
he was married when he hit on Rebecca. He was married to Rebecca when he cheated on her with a bunch of different women and then cheated on Bex. And there is the whole thing of, it's kind of hard for me to be like, oh, your assistant, whose name I don't remember, the brunette one.
Do they
I
ever
think
give
they
us her
just-
name?
Yeah,
No,
they say it in the news thing, and it was weird, and I didn't catch it.
Oh
Yeah.
really? I thought I could have swore they just said the assistant, his assistant. Or if that
It-
was just kind of after the name.
Because like,
Um,
and the fact that she was, you know, inappropriately harassed by her boss, notwithstanding, I was kind of just creeped out by her for the first 2 episodes. So I was just like the creepy shining looking assistant.
the creepy shiny.
Okay, you said she creeped you out too the first couple episodes.
She has that like what Tilda Swinton and like uh Gwendolyn Christine, like what they have, where they're very tall and very pale and very angular, and it kind of just looks like they could absolutely kill me if they wanted to and like get away with it.
See, it was that, and then there was also the like. She kind of gave off the same energy as like the pink assistant that the Collector has in the MCU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
Well,
so
and that's the whole thing, is that like there's no world where I can be like, oh, she's just another home wrecking whore. No, she's an assistant to an incredibly rich, incredibly powerful, incredibly famous man. There is no world in which her saying yes to any sort of sexual relationship is consensual, because that power dynamic is way too, he could ruin her life.
yeah,
Like, and so seeing him go into this rage that Rebecca and Ted and all of these people, as he looks at as lower than him because they're not other rich white men, lose, and them doing the Die Hard callback, which was great and such a great scene. But doing that little Die Hard moment and him coming down, you seeing like how far he is willing to go just to win, and then he does get ripped down, and people do now think he has lost everything, and Ted and Rebecca aren't why, which is like such an amazing. When you start with Rebecca's story being, I'm doing this because I want to ruin my husband, and she didn't have to ruin. To quote Taylor Swift, your enemies will tear themselves down before you get the chance to swing. Like, Rupert she didn't need to do shit to destroy him. He did it himself.
yeah.
Now, I'm just curious, like, because at the end of episode 11 of this season, we see like Bex and the assistant go to Rebecca's. Is that something that the kind of Rebecca kind of leaked out or something? Do we think?
I don't know if Rebecca leaked it out, but I think Rebecca, in my interpretation, Rebecca is the first one they've ever seen stand up to Rupert. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't just disappear into obscurity. She interacts with him and isn't this crying crazy, because I'm sure he does not describe Rebecca in good terms at home, but Rebecca has never given any of them, has been nothing but kind to every single one, to like all of them. Like, I think it's just you're the only one who, and if I were Bex, they do not imply that Bex is like also very wealthy and very like well known. I would want to go to the person I know doesn't like him, knows who he really is, and is also just as rich and just as important, and kind of like
Yeah.
hide behind the protection of that a little bit.
I think part of it was also like Rebecca was the only person they could really turn to because she still operated in the club circles like that they're all involved in.
Mhm.
Like they couldn't have went to his first ex-wife because
Yeah.
she's just not involved in that world.
Right.
This season with Rupert, I think is the first villain I've truly understood the meaning I love to hate, because like fuck Rupert, but I love every scene he's in. Not because of him. It's just they do a really good the actor who plays him.
The actor is
Fucking
so good.
good, amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I think the moment where it really was the moment with Sam Richardson's character, because they don't make him sympathetic, but they also find a way to like
They
bring
show
him
you why
down.
he's charming.
Yeah. And like the reality is like that's true. There has to be a good person persona in there, because you don't get that far just being a dick. Like you don't have to be a great person to get far in life, but you have to, talk to people and like interact with them. And with Rebecca telling that story and like looking at him again, fuck him, and he was horrible to her. At the end of the day, if you're still married, you know that level of detail and backstory of a person. And like, I like that she kind of used it against him.
Yeah, once again, abusive relationships, they don't start out. People end up in those kind of relationships not because, he was mean from the get-go. So I like that they show this is how, because like I always go back to, I love this line from Sassy in, I don't remember if it's season 1 or 2, but it's from Sassy, where she's like, yes, Rupert isolated you and put you in an ivory tower, but you locked yourself in there. Like, you had a hand in it without, where it's you started to see, stop calling me, where you started to see the writing on the wall and you didn't go. um and that Rebecca is now, being this way to get out. And there's also just like a very like, there's a big thing in like feminist movements and that kind of thing with older women being content that women our age are willing to like be kind of mean to our spouses and that kind of shit, because that's something that's been fought for. And so Bex does not like, when Rupert says shit to her, she's like, yeah, you're still like, we see a whole scene of her bullying, straight up bullying him in a way that I think is appropriate in a relationship, but like to others, maybe not. And
Mhm.
that there's a beauty in when Rebecca was Bex's age, she didn't see what Rupert really was. She wasn't able, but Bex is able to. And Bex is able to say to the assistant, Rupert is in the wrong. Like, the common denominator, the common problem here is Rupert, and that we didn't have this moment of Bex ever being nasty to Rebecca or Bex being nasty to the assistant or standing by Rupert. We just get this like really beautiful, like, camaraderie between the women characters in the show that I greatly enjoy.
If you've been victimized by Rupert, raise your hand.
Truly, I'm sure that list is long.
Yeah.
I guess for one of mine, like I'd say probably mine would be the strings practice. But for something else, one of my favorite monologues this season was from Ted in episode 5, like right at the end there. And I actually just watched it before, and it's essentially the saying, because this is just like right when Zava left and retired.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just one of those like, it's something we all know the show is great for, just great monologues, great quotes. And it's just the whole thing about like, we don't need a sign to believe. It's in here, and it's down here. And it's like, it was such a great monologue. And this is one of those things that just really hit. And I guess speaking of another one that like really got me was, I guess this kind of season overall as a whole, like what I've been saying is season 1 was just that, kind of hit you in the head with that overabundant positivity. Season 2 was all about the mental health and like kind of like the real heavy topics. Season 3 just kind of like put them in a pot together and mixed it up. Like one of my biggest examples of that is in that same episode with the strings practice session. I think it's called No String.
Yeah. It's like no strings attached or something like that.
Something like
Sorry,
that.
my foot is falling asleep. Continue.
Yeah. Where you get one of the funniest moments of the series with that practice session, but then you just get hit just in the feels where Sam, he gets in an argument with a member of the British government, and he people or followers of them come and like basically destroy his restaurant. And Sam's dad comes in and he gives one of the best quotes of the season, in my opinion, of "Don't fight back, fight forward."
Yeah.
This season had great representations of like immigrant parents and specifically immigrant father-son relationships that were very cathartic. Specifically, the one that stood out and hit me the closest was the speech that Nate's dad gives him after he finds Nate playing the violin.
Oh yeah,
of just kind of apologizing for not recognizing where his talents naturally fell and for not really knowing how to best nurture a child. Because like I'm not even going to focus on the fact that they use the word genius because
Okay. Now that you said it, though, I'm going to rant. I also wrote a note down last night that it was just a general note about the series where I was like, I have been cheated on too many times to be a trusting and or forgiving person because I don't give a shit about when Nate in the series finale is crying, staring at the door when Ted scares him, my first thought was, good, cry, bitch. Like, I've been cheated on too many times. But when his dad came in and was like, I don't know how to raise a genius. Your son is not a genius. Shut the fuck up. What the fuck do you mean, genius? He's not a fucking brain surgeon.
My two rebuttals, or really just like one, I think that even if I don't want to take that word literally, I can still appreciate the rest of that scene and that monologue.
Yes. But like, if your father ever looked at you and went, I don't know how to raise a genius, I feel like even you would be like, whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
So I look at it in one of two ways. Where part of me goes, hey, I don't see Nate as a genius, but if the text is trying to tell me he's a genius, do we have to accept that? Or a genius just in regards to one thing?
No.
And then
I'm gonna let everybody in on a critique thing. You can't just say things like that and not back it up and expect your audience to just be like, okay, yeah, this is fact.
The other way I view it is from a set of parents that are going to be much more practical with the way they view the world. Marriage is looked at as practical. Your job and your career is looked at as practical. Like everything is about getting you out of the poorer country you were in or you left for whatever reason. And then you have a child who's very creative. I think that I can see the comparison that level of disconnect of, if you want to call it left brain versus right brain. I don't know how true that stuff is, but just for...
It's not. It's the whole everything left. Again, fun little announcement. Everything that has to do with right brain and left brain is completely made up.
In terms of that symbolism or that, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's the thing that bothers me. They have not shown us jack shit about Ned. Ned. Sorry, I was listening to a podcast with the Try Guys right before this. And I have the same amount of rage towards Nate that I do towards Ned Fulmer. But if you had established that that's why, we don't know why Nate was a 20-something-year-old still kit man for AFC Richmond. They never told us. We don't know if it's, he got this job right out of high school and just like decided to stay. Like, we don't have any of that. They don't tell us a lot about
they don't tell us about a lot of the characters, but Nate specifically, a lot of his stuff seems to happen off screen. But I also looked at it as like, just that level of disconnect of practicality versus creativity being compared to an average person versus a genius. Like, I just think that the dad truly does not understand how his son's mind works, but is recognizing that he didn't do the best job at letting that version of his son flourish. And it was just a very cathartic outlet and stuff.
I don't mean to undermine your catharsis. Catharsis. It's just I'm frustrated. This is somewhere where I am frustrated with the writer's room. Finish, and then I'll go into my whole argument with this.
Again, just looking at it as like the getting the father to say those words to his son is like such a moment that like no immigrant parent's gonna do. Unfortunately, they don't apologize. They hand you some fruit and leave the room. But like, it still felt very... Yes, I swear to God, immigrant parents will just like after a fight come up to you with like a plate of like pre-peeled or pre-cut fruit and just kind of like let you do your thing. I swear to God. Yeah.
My question was, does he bring... I didn't remember if he had anything.
No, he just walks in on Nate playing. And so yeah, it's a very like, oh, this is not real, but it's nice to see it portrayed.
Yeah, so this is where I'm gonna fucking rant about Nate, and I swear this will be the only rant about Nate that I give. They wanted Nate and his whole arc to be Zuko from The Last Airbender, but did not give us nearly enough information to pull that off. Because,
Yep.
like, it is very similar in that you're the way you are and you become that way because of how you've been treated and you feel like you have something to prove and it comes from home, it comes from within, it's like all of this shit, but you see how you were wrong and you legitimately want to put in the work to redeem yourself. However, we get 6 different episodes about how abusive, outside of just being a king and the abuse that comes in with just being raised to be a leader. For more on that, look at the entire British royal family. Um and we get this look at that, like, Zuko was a kind kid and wasn't always this monster and truly was just trying to make his father proud and trying to find his way through and not being good at the things that were expected of him. And then he has this whole redemption arc where he undoes a lot of that work. And with Nate, we don't get any of that backstory.
He just shuts himself in.
Yeah, I saw a thing today. I didn't read through all the points, but Nick Mohammed posted like 3 screenshots of like so many bullet points of like talking about the Nate arc now that everything's wrapped up and whatnot. And the one part I did read is that like apparently it was a purposeful choice to have a lot of that stuff off camera, which I don't know
was
if
a bad
I
choice. It was a bad choice.
When I look back at this season, the whole Zava thing
Zava
seems like it was fucking pointless. Like, I feel like there was really nothing gained out of that other than like that character was hilarious for the times that he showed up.
I mean, it worked to basically bring the team back together, being like, hey, we don't need this one superstar athlete to score us a bunch of goals. We need to come together as a team. And that's kind of the beginning fruits of that total football strategy.
Yeah. And like, I just think that it could have been done so much faster in a way, just because like they emphasized it so much.
I'm 3 lines into this whole fucking monologue he posted, and like, no, this is not how writing works. You do not just get to decide these things because that's what you wanted it to be. Like, they shouldn't have been off screen. Did you know that Nate's mom's name is Maria?
Nope.
He's part of this whole thing is about how the mom's name is Maria and Mary Shelley is the mother of Frankenstein, which, like, sure, I don't like it when people call authors mothers and fathers of their work. I don't know why. It gives like me a weird headed like image. No, like the more needed to be. Nate is the character that, not just because I have trust issues and issues
like, I don't think
people,
there was a world where you were ever going to be okay with his redemption arc. No offense.
because they don't put enough, and it's not. Zuko's redemption arc is one of my favorite things in all of media. Like, I love that redemption arc. It's not that I don't. You can watch a lot of our content and be like, oh, Leon just doesn't like redemption arcs. No,
oh, no, I
like
meant Nate
good
specifically.
redemption
I
arcs.
meant Nate specifically because you saw the way he betrayed them in season 2.
But it's not even that too, where it's like, if you had given me reasons besides that he's just a little bitch baby that can't handle when he's not constantly being told, and it's such a man this is part, I will fully admit I have a lot of like just rage towards men right now because of my own issues with what it's like to be a woman. But you are never going to get sympathy out of me for a male character whose only desire is that he needs attention. It's why it took me so goddamn long to like Jamie. It took a long time. I did not like him the entire first season, and it took a while into season 2 for me to be like, nah, Jamie's okay.
And then they gave us the line at the beginning of the first episode. It's poopy. Just let it flow.
And like, yeah, with Jamie, part of it, this is mean, but part of it is I'm like, Jamie's just a dumb bitch. But like, there's this undercurrent of the show of toxic masculinity and actively working with Roy, with Nate, with Jamie. It's all different facets of the idea of toxic masculinity and sports masculinity in particular. But with Jamie, we got reasons. We saw his abusive father. Roy, we got a lot of descriptions of abuse that Roy seemed to not have processed yet. I was very glad to see Roy in therapy at the end because Roy needs therapy.
Or a punching bag.
Or both,
I was
honestly.
just gonna say
Like
both. Yeah.
Because like he's angry all the time, and they point out that he's angry and rageful, but like you never actually see him just lay into someone. And I think he just has those like
it's because he's holding it all here. Like, oh, I love Roy so much. Roy is such a well-written character.
Roy just needs somebody to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. The problem, or like,
he needs someone to give him
in
a
my
reason.
brain, it's always like he's just waiting for somebody to like say the wrong thing to Rebecca. Like he's just waiting for somebody to be like, all right, Roy, now you can go beat the shit out of Rupert. Like he's just waiting for
he's
that
constantly
day.
holding the mace, and AFC Richmond's not now for
Not now for constantly throughout the entire series is Roy Kent waiting for somebody to say you can go beat up Rupert, because Rupert is I feel like Rupert is like an amalgamation of everything Roy has been through, all the people that have like only looked at him as a prop. But anyways, we get backstories and we get insights on their lives and their upbringings on how they got here. Where Nate, it's strictly just he got jealous because Ted was giving Roy credit for something Roy did and not talking to him as much, which is some bitch baby ass behavior. I said it last year. It's somewhere on our Twitter. I will say it again.
On
It
TikTok,
is
I
bitch
believe.
baby behavior.
See,
Yes.
I wish I
Follow our
definitely-
TikTok.
I wish we saw. I'm agreeing in the sense that like the thing with Nate that I really liked was really that one specific monologue, and I kind of expected that he was going to get redeemed, so I kind of just accepted.
Yeah, I
that.
knew I was never going to be handed the catharsis I wanted.
Yeah.
I got it with Rupert. It's fine.
But I do wish that they would have showed us more, not even necessarily of the redemption, but even showing us like he didn't just yell at Ted and then go get a job at West Ham. I always pictured it in the sense that like, oh, Rupert had been talking to him for a while and trying to get him over at West Ham. And so at West Ham. So I would have loved to see a little bit more of that manipulation as well. Not to absolve him of blame per se.
No,
but
but it gives you like an understanding of like they started to do it where Rupert is giving him all of these things and you see him being given all of these things and Rupert being somebody who's constantly like Nate the Great and all this shit. Like, but they didn't give us. Yeah, and every time we've seen him interact with his parents, his father has never done anything like seriously wrong or anything to show that there's pressure. It's just like Nate is very harsh to his father, where you've worked as a kit man for AFC Richmond this entire time, and now you've been promoted all the way up to assistant coach. I feel like as a parent, you can have questions about just how we got from point A to point B. And it's not malicious. It's just again, yesterday you were the kit man and the team was actively bullying you. And now you're the assistant coach and being called a wonder kid. I'm just confused how we got there.
No, that's fair.
They only ever show us them being like, I love his mom. His mom is so cute. And it just, I don't know. It also, I don't necessarily know if I wanted the Ted Lasso writing room taking this on, because while it was a very diverse gender-wise, it was a pretty white writer's room. But like there's also a lot that goes into not just being an immigrant parent, but being an Indian immigrant family in England.
Yeah.
That I feel like they could have used to kind of show us why Nate is the way he is, and like they didn't. But that is all I have to say on Nate.
Yeah. I agree. I wish they could have showed us more. I liked, and this will be my last thing on Nate, I also liked that like the moment that kind of made him switch was a very internal thing, where it wasn't somebody like reminded him of what he did. He was like, you're right. I think he just saw what Rupert was becoming, and in his head compared it to like what Ted was and doing for everyone. I went, oh, I don't want to end up the sleaze bag. And so I personally like that it came from a little bit more internal than just like shame.
Yeah.
Nah, be ashamed, bitch.
I'll say one, I guess, bright spot with Nate before we move on. I remember seeing a tweet from Chris, and he couldn't be here tonight because he got put on a last second shift at work. But I remember so Chris had mentioned something that's like, oh, he actually knows how, or like Nick or the actor actually knows how to play violin. That's not like, you know, they didn't have to do like any camera tricks or anything. Like that's actually him like playing. So honestly, shout out to that.
Shout out to Nick Mohammed.
But I guess one of the big things of season 3, the friendship between Jamie and Roy.
Beautiful friendship.
Friendship's a loose word.
Friendship. What?
Friendship's a loose word, but like it is a friendship.
But what is the biggest thing that men beat the shit out of each other over? Women.
Fair.
Yeah. But that I know, Aaron, you and I were talking about this on Monday after we recorded, but the bicycle scene
is the funniest. It's so funny. It's so good. Like, their friendship is just, I don't know, it's great. And like hearing Roy say he's proud of Jamie, I was like, oh, this is growth. This is huge growth from where we were before.
Yeah.
And at first I did not like them getting in a fist fight over Keeley, and I did not like them showing up at Keeley's house and being like, pick. And then they like the writers, like it keeps going and they're like, wow, we're fucking idiots. Where I'm like, okay, I don't care now. We're good.
They didn't go like, they played into the stereotype to tear it down to show how fucking stupid this whole plan. And I like how they both walked out, both being rejected, being like, that was an incredibly dumb idea from the both of us.
Yes. And like that was honestly something I loved about the entire finale, was there were so many moments where I was like, I thought I knew where this is going, but now I don't know where this is going. And I'm in the game, just in that final game, there were like 8. I went back and forth over whether or not I've been convinced since the show started that they were going to win that game. Not necessarily win the league, but win that game. And there were like 8 moments where I was like, maybe they're not going to win the game. Maybe he is going to win.
Like the moment with Isaac kicking that penalty kick. I thought he missed it, and then it's like, wait a second. He just kicked it so hard
when the ball hit that man's face and then he kissed his wife, I almost vomited.
See, to me, I was like, oh, it hit his face. Ouch. They showed his face full of blood. I went, funny. And then, but he was still cheering with it. When he kissed his wife, I went, that's too far.
Yeah, because like the ball hitting him and him cheering, like that's very soccer fan. Is you just took a soccer ball to the face, which fucking hurts, and are still like, no, my fucking team, man.
If you're tearing through that goal, like that's coming at you fast.
I like that we found out there was still a dog, and he still had his tiny little helmet to protect his tiny little head. He was very cute. I loved him. I want an Italian Greyhound to name Earl Grey after.
Yeah. I'll say, just shout out to the finale with how many like throwbacks they had, like full circle moments. Like the whole moment with that we get like in one of the first practices of like, you know, Jamie doing the acting. You get Ted doing that, and Jamie does that. And what was it? You know, the Ussy kid at the end.
I've been getting deep into Vanderpump Rules, and there's a kid on Vanderpump Rules who is British and reminds me of the Ussy kid. And I just keep calling him Ussy because I don't know his name. And like, it's just, he's such a meme of a human. I love that character. But I like also, they had a lot of full circle moments, but they also had a lot of very subtle closings to an arc, which is where I'm going to talk about Keeley if
go ahead.
Where Keeley very much starts the show as this flighty kind of stereotype of what people think a model is, and we get that scene of her and Rebecca in the bathroom where she was like, I was afraid of you, to Rebecca, and that, you know, she started dating footballers when she was a 21-year-old model, and now she's, you know, a 28-year-old model still dating 21-year-old footballers, and it's not, and she's very defined by her sexuality and her physique and how pretty she is and who she's sleeping with. And at first I was mad that we don't get confirmation that her and Roy ever get back together. But then I was thinking about it last night, and I like that it doesn't matter who she's dating, her relationship, that doesn't, she has her own PR company that represents AFC Richmond and all these huge soccer players, and she's going to Brazil to represent Jamie on a Nike thing, and she has this
that's cool.
company. Yeah, and like the venture capitalist fund that was funding her backed out, and she still has this company and people who want to work for her and enjoy, like, where I was like, I'm actually fine that we just get that her and Roy are very clearly friends because Phoebe is sitting in Keely's lap at the end. But I like that it doesn't matter. Keely is so much more than which footballer she's dating. And it gives you that moment of like, I'm sure there are lots of people who are either mad that it didn't reveal that she got back together with Jamie, Victoria's mother, or mad that she didn't get back together with Roy, me, and most other people. And then you have to sit with yourself and really think about, well, why is that the thing with everything you see Keely do and succeed at and change in, and she is comfortable just being her professional self. It was just like, I loved it. It was a very beautiful like way to end that story without hitting you over the head with it.
That's a good way of looking at it that I didn't see before, because I wasn't necessarily mad that they didn't give us an answer, and I liked that the answer was she was like, kind of none of you right now because you're both being idiots and treating
both
me like
dumb
a prize.
bitches.
You're treating me like a trophy. But like when I was like when at the end like they didn't confirm either which way, or even if she was with like a third person, I think it was more like we all expect TV shows to have that level of closure and romance.
I also got confused at one point when she had somebody sitting on her lap and then the other girl ran up before Hannah and the other one, and I was like, wait, did we jump that far forward?
That Rebecca had like not just another baby, but like a 8-year-old now, but no, then the first kid turned out, you're like, oh, it's Phoebe.
Well, yeah, because that was the other thing that I got confused is, so Phoebe runs up and jumps in Keely's lap, and then you see Rebecca enter the frame, and I was like, oh, that's the pilot's daughter. And then the other girl comes out, and I was like, wait, who's this blonde one? We can't have jumped. They can't have gotten busy this fast. And then she turned. I was like, oh, yeah, that's just Phoebe. Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Nobody had a historically quick pregnancy.
Yeah, I'll say shout out to the end, or one of the end scenes, I guess, the end last one we get in England with the Fast and Furious barbecue.
Yeah.
Like immediately I saw that. It's like, nope, they did Fast and Furious.
Never had that big ass forehead.
I will shout out also, I don't know who put this in, but I felt so seen when Trent Crimm is watching Ted read, and the second Ted makes a noise, he runs over and it's like, so you do laugh, and it's like checking the page, because that is truly what it feels like anytime you hand any amount of your own writing to somebody. It's just like, I'm watching you to see if you have the same reaction that I want you to, and it's just like this agonizing.
Like when you send somebody a meme or a TikTok or something.
Yeah.
He was upset it didn't happen until page 42, and that it wasn't even like a real laugh.
Yeah, and it's like, God, I love it. Like, I was like, yes, I'm glad to know even grown-ass writers feel like this. I also said this to Jordan last night. That Golden Girl shirt that he's wearing in the last scene where I've had this theory going for like the last couple of weeks that I think they gave the actor who plays Trent a lot of say on his costumes, because if you look at his social media, he dresses very similarly to how Trent dresses. And then yesterday, pictures came out of the whole Ted Lasso squad on the picket line here in LA for the writer's strike, and he was in this yellow vintage Golden Girls t-shirt that he wears in the show when he picks up the version of his manuscript. I was like, they are his. Like, I guarantee you somebody was just like, you got fucking cool t-shirts. Like, just wear one of your weird quirky t-shirts every time you.
I loved Trent this season.
Oh yeah,
I have loved him.
I've loved him in general.
Said Trent Crimm, the Independent.
Well, I will say there was one moment that I was like, "Don't do this, Trent." Like when he saw Colin.
The like 3 weeks where they were like, "Is Trent gonna out Colin? Because that's gonna be such character assassination."
Right? Because my thought was like it was gonna be one of those like, since he's Trent Crimm independent, I thought they was gonna use that as like his like big break into some other like journalism. Job. Yeah,
and I like that they made it that Trent himself is a gay man that he's not closeted, but he's not super open about it in his professional life from what we can tell, but he
This is also
discovered
like, is it really anyone's like, that's where it gets into, is it really anyone's business?
Right.
it's that fine line of like, it's not anyone's business, but you should feel free to express that if that's what you desire. Like when
That you
Colin
would
was like,
hope Trent felt comfortable enough to say my boyfriend in conversation, but it's also like, you're a sports writer. You know, in any situation, like nobody at your job asks you like what's your sexual orientation. Like,
yeah, it just
who
kind
do
of
you like
pops
to
up
fuck?
because
Yeah.
you say phrases like my boyfriend or my husband or my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that they were like, no, Trent's actually gonna help Colin out.
Yep.
I wish we had met Trent's daughter though. I want to see him be a dad.
I assumed that she was like an adult by now.
I don't give a shit. I'm an adult and I still turn into an absolute child when I am around my father. Not in like a weird way, but just in like a, I don't know, cute dad shit. Like, I don't know. I just like, also fuck Dr. Jake. Speaking of cute dad shit, when he just kept making comments, I was like, I'm gonna bitch slap you.
See, I love that symbolism of it being very clearly that he's not enjoying this as much as the others, and like clearly it looks like Michelle and him are about to break up. But I also didn't necessarily want that Michelle was going to magically be in love with him again when he came home.
The thing was that was just bothering me about it wasn't even getting, I don't think Michelle and him are going to break up or that that's what they were hinting at. It was just like, you're dating a woman who you, I assume, love and care about, and her son who you have a relationship with and I assume are growing to love and care about. And this is very, very important to them and very important to the child's father. Shitting on it is kind of a bad move. Like just commenting, making these you're a fucking therapist. Why the fuck are you sitting here and making these passive aggressive ass comments?
I think it was like, this is how Americans view soccer. But like, yeah, come on, dude. Fucking grow up.
It's clearly wildly important to your wife and kid. Like you can't pretend.
I mean, so much so that we didn't see him in that final scene with Ted coaching.
He's up at the bar on his phone. He's standing by.
Well, no, I'm talking about
Ted gets home.
Oh, yeah.
At Henry's soccer game, we don't see him there.
Fuck him.
Fuck Dr. Jake.
Okay, that's my other thing about him. Henry refers to him as Jake. Ted refers to him as Dr. Jacobs. Is this man's name Jake Jacobs? That has been bothering me all season.
Yeah. Or he's okay.
But you don't go by like, if I had a medical degree, you don't call me Dr. Jordan.
Therapists do. There are therapists that will go by like, I'm doctor, my first name. Because yes, they're a doctor and they want to be addressed as such, which is fine. It's something you worked for. You can be addressed as such. Like,
paid
that's
a lot
fine.
of money for.
Yeah, you like put in a lot of work for. You have now earned the title. It's fine. But because they don't want, it's not like if you were going to see like a gastroenterologist or your GP where it's like doctor, whatever your last name is, they want to have that more personable relationship. They'll do doctor first names. So I think
they're like the preschool teachers of doctors.
Kind of. Yeah, how you have like Miss Patty as your kindergarten teacher, and then like, or like, I don't know if you guys would know that maybe you both have sisters, but like in dance for some reason, even though this is only like this isn't even how they do it in like really like like big prestigious ballet schools, but the teacher is always Miss something. You're supposed to call your dance teacher like Miss.
I didn't know that because of me and my three sisters. I've probably taken the most dance lessons because I did theater for a lot of years.
And it's like Miss whatever, especially when you're young. And it's I guess it's a reference to how like in traditional French ballet schools you're supposed to call the teacher by Madame, but like
I'm going around thinking this man, his legal name is Jake Jacobs.
Well, yeah, because fuck him.
Yeah.
I cannot get off the train of I think it is wildly inappropriate. I think it is wildly inappropriate to date somebody you met when you were their therapist, especially when you're a marriage therapist. I think that's wildly inappropriate.
It wasn't like, oh, I used to go to him years ago and then the divorce happened and I caught up with him on a more personal way.
We saw each other. I was out for like drinks with friends and we ran into each other.
It was, I was going to you for marriage counseling. The divorce got finalized. We started dating.
Yeah. I may be revealing things about myself, but if I were like one of Michelle's friends, I would be like, you need to get away from him and like report. He should not be practicing.
And my whole thing,
I mean,
it was like, were they fucking when they were in marriage counseling? Like, has this?
And I've been saying that since the beginning. Remember, in the very first season, you can go back and check the spoiler cast. I ask, do we think his wife is fucking the therapist?
oh yeah, I do.
I
remember that
bring
now.
up that I was convinced from the get-go that his wife, from the second he said we tried marriage counseling and eventually it started to feel like everything I was doing wrong and that I was not able to express my own emotions. When he says all of that, I was like, was his wife fucking the therapist? Because there is no reason, unless it is a shitty therapist, there is no reason for marriage counseling to ever turn into you feeling like it is just you being told by both the therapist and your spouse what you're doing is wrong, because that's not how any therapist worth their weight should be handling that situation. And so like I have thought from the jump that she was fucking the therapist. Granted, I thought we were going to get a reveal that she was a lesbian. That's just me being an idiot and assume. I have seen mostly female therapists. I tend to assume that most therapists are female. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what the statistics on that are, but I just assumed the therapist was a woman. But yeah, I've been saying since the beginning, fuck Dr. Jake. Before I even knew his fucking name, fuck that man.
Yep.
Fuck that guy.
I'll say to wind down, I'll say let's kind of go through like I guess that last little bit, like for me, that moment where you see Ted. Well, I was like, sorry, we learned Coach Beard's name, Willis.
Wait, when did we learn that?
He says it on the airplane when he fakes the
I missed that.
Yeah, wait, I
he
missed it
says,
too.
See ya, Willis. He says Willis is his name. I'm
Ted
pretty
looks
sure.
at him and says, "See ya, Willis."
Or he says he says Willis, like something like before Beard does the.
It wasn't what you talking about.
No, I'm almost sure he said Willis.
What is Coach Beard's name? Coach Beard's name was revealed in the final scene with Ted and Beard together to be Willis.
I completely missed it.
Yeah, so did
It was
I.
a good
Okay, because
moment.
I was about to say one of my upsets was that we never got Coach Beard's first name.
Yeah, no, it was Willis.
Yeah,
Willis-
he goes,
Willis Beard.
yeah, I can't do this. I don't want to go, Ted. I want to stay. I don't
Yeah.
want to let you down. Ted tells him to follow his heart, but that I don't think they're gonna let you get off this plane. I love you, Ted. I love you, Willis.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
But-
this article goes on to say that it's funny because multiple times throughout the series we have seen Ted
What you
say,
talking
"What
about,
you
Willis?"
talking about,
Talking about
Willis?"
Willis.
to Beard.
Oh,
And now,
Oh
like,
my
that is
gosh.
actually his first name,
that's okay.
which
That's
is
cool.
very
Okay.
clever.
I've never caught that, but yeah.
Yeah.
See. I expected Beard to stay. I love Beard as a character. I don't like that in like his last 2 minutes though. They go, "Oh, Jane is still absolutely insane."
Jane is crazy.
Like you
and-
can't just tear up a passport. Like that is a big deal.
Okay, but here's the thing. Beard is insane too.
Yeah.
Like,
But he
We
seems
learned
like
that
a
last week,
different.
yeah.
He seems like a different level of insane, and I always thought that like him and
But their
Sassy would.
insanes match.
I don't know, man. Ripping up a passport's like now I got to deal with the embassy.
okay,
then
but
he
remember
literally
the
says
episode.
he has triple citizenship when he says the
Yeah.
Vatican City's
Yeah.
a country.
Also true.
And think about the episode we get that's just him.
Yeah.
Again, I think there is a different level between like I like to party and I am going to just like kind of abuse you.
He gets beaten up in the street in that episode.
He's not doing the beating. We're talking about like if his
but
crazy
this is-
matches
but what I'm
Jane's crazy.
saying is how you end up. Yeah, if you're ending up in a situation where you're getting the shit kicked out of you by 3 guys in the street, that is not just, hey, I like to party. That's why were we out? This is again coming back to there is literally no reason for anyone to be out of their home past 2 a.m. It's just you're asking for trouble at that point.
Wow, sorry, victim blaming. Never thought I'd see it.
No, it's just we've done this before where it like hits 2 a.m. and the night goes, everybody has been drinking too long now.
Ted Mosby's mom. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Nothing good
Yep.
happens after 2 a.m. and that is
All right.
absolutely true.
Getting back to wrapping this up. Then we see Rebecca leaving the airport, and just that song at the end, that it's the same song that plays at the end of Guardians 2, and it just hit me. Like, all the emotions, it just, from basically then on to the end of the episode, I was just sobbing. Like,
I'm not gonna read you guys the quote because I won't do that to you. It also would take me like a full minute to read, but I just read a book recently. This connects, I swear. This is not me going on a tangent. I swear this connects to the pilot moment. Stay with me here. I just finished reading this book called My Last Innocent Year, and at the end, the narrator talks about having a dream where it's, and the last kind of like 4 pages of the book are all about like, at what moment do you become an adult? Specifically, at what moment does a girl become a woman? And that it feels like there should be this momentous occasion where we go from being, oh, you're a little girl to you're a woman. And there's this really great line about we were young girls in the bodies of women buying condoms with our father's credit cards. And I kept thinking about it with everything, but that's true, Jordan. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Like, when we were in college, that, like, because the narrator is talking about her senior year of college, that is like a real thing. And she talks about how it's like, we go out to the bar and get so drunk that we're puking on the streets on our way home, but then we come home and collapse on a bed covered in stuffed animals. And like that duality of like what being a woman is. And I have not stopped thinking about it with Ted Lasso from when they showed Rebecca in the mirror and being like, seeing like, it's so everything they do. And then having like, I thought the baby thing that was going to come back, that she had to slip up with Sam and Sam got her pregnant. I like this even better, where she is given that we're given this beautiful moment of her getting to be this role model to this little girl. Like, this little girl is going to grow up with Rebecca in her, and like how amazing that is to have. Also, she's got a great dad. Kid won the fucking parent lottery. Your father is hot as shit and cool as fuck, dude. Like, I know the kid doesn't care about how hot her dad is, but like I do. And having that moment, and then it leading into Keely coming in and having this big idea to start. I cried when they revealed they wanted to start an AFC women's team. I like lost my shit.
Spin-off, baby.
Yeah.
Teresa Lasso coming May 2025.
It was just such a beautiful way to kind of tie up both of their stories, and just this really.
And then we get Rebecca introducing Roy Kent as the new manager, which was awesome. And with Coach Beard being I'm assuming the assistant. And we almost get that same mirror with when they tape up the Believe sign from the beginning of the show.
I had one issue with this. One issue with them putting up the tape Believe sign. There is no tape anywhere else on that Believe sign, and that thing is ripped to fucking shreds. You would not be able to piece that together and hang it with the original like 2 pieces of tape. Like, don't fuck with me on this.
Well, the middle was all glued together with the glitter.
Oh, I couldn't tell that that's what it was. It just looked like they made a poster that was supposed to look like it was put back together and hung it.
No, Nate like glued the pieces back together with the glitter. I expected, it's going to be it's going to be Ted leaves and the new coaching team becomes Beard, Roy, and Nate. Is Nate still a kit man by the end?
Yes, he is assistant to the kit man. He is not Will is kit man. He is assistant to the kit man, because
Will calls him assistant kit man.
And he goes, assistant to the kit man. And I just hear Shrike going, assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, my brain is rotted by the Office.
I assume that's what it was referencing, actually.
Yeah, because also the Office was originally British and that whole thing.
Yeah. Assistant to the regional manager is just such a fucking joke at this point.
Yeah. Something I actually just thought of as I was going through the last bit, referencing the episode where we meet Edwin Akufu when he comes back. And for me, it's like, for a second, I thought it was going to be one of those, like, he's like the big bad over Rupert. When he was trying to get that league put together.
Go ahead.
You know what I always have to say when he shows up as Edwin Akufu? That man is American. I would not be able to tell.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, that man is American. He is an American comedian.
Okay.
All right.
And the comedian thing shines through. And shout out to the guy who plays Sam, because I cannot imagine how many times he broke when Okufu was doing all the like phone call impressions and the different voices. And yeah, they're this close together. And I feel like, I'm not saying that you see him break, but you see Sam kind of like, just get out of my face. But like, there's a little smirk. And then that's followed up with fucking Francis doing the up high, down low.
You see it from a mile away. He's like, come on, can we just get this over with?
Like, shout out to the guy who plays Francis as well, because dude is the funniest character, doesn't say a single word.
Yep.
But yeah, if you ever choose to watch I Think You Should Leave or The After Party or Veep, Sam Richardson is in them and you hear his real voice. He is like from Georgia.
I didn't realize that was him in the After Party.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why
damn.
The only reason I really know this is Victoria loves The After Party. And Victoria watches the most Apple TV of anyone I know. And she watches After Party. And when Sam Richardson was coming on Ted Lasso for the very first time last season, she was amped because she loved him on After Party and Comedy Bang Bang. But yeah, he's American. And I'm very impressed by his accent because I did not think he was American when he first starts talking.
Oh, also at the end with all the full circle stuff, Sam being on the Nigerian team the next time around.
Boy.
Oh,
yep.
My boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I only have one other note. This is stupid as shit.
Yeah.
I love Barbara. Great character.
I don't know if I do.
I love her when she was like, I prefer rugby because it's bloodier and you watch men throw each other in the air like children. Barbara gets it. That's why I love rugby, is because you watch men and women, my mom was a rugby player, just throw people around like they're nothing, and fucking there is nothing better than watching. You're not allowed to tackle above the waist in rugby, so like everybody's going for the knees. Watching somebody just take another man out at the knees and somebody come in and grab that ball. Rugby is great. And like, yeah, I like bloody, like I think baseball and basketball are two of the most boring sports on the planet. I like things where it's like, rugby because it's a lot of hitting and tackling and blood, and hockey because it's a lot of hitting and tackling and blood, and it's fun. Yeah.
Can I give a hot sports take?
That basketball's bad or that baseball's bad? Sure.
No, because I feel like that's a very cold take. Like the MLB is draining.
I feel like I get yelled at whenever I'm like, baseball's boring.
The people who like baseball. But if you look at the numbers, the MLB has just seen their fucking profits go down. Like, we got to find a way to make this more enjoyable.
Dull.
But like,
because they spit up. Go ahead.
And I'm saying this loosely, not in the nitty gritty. To me, basketball, hockey, and soccer are all kind of the same. There's like the thing you got to do to score the points. You put them in the net, and there's people blocking. Like, they all kind of function roughly the same way. So I can't find one entertaining and not the other. I'm not a big sports person to begin with.
So why I think basketball is more. You're not allowed to touch other players during basketball. They do, but it's a lot like soccer where it's a lot more of a show where you're trying to not get caught actively knocking somebody over. But if somebody knocks you over, you're going to fucking throw yourself out on the ground and pretend that it was a big foul.
With hockey, we were going to get a basketball reference yesterday when Isaac was given the penalty goal and they were like, oh, he can't make this. It's like how Shaq sucked at free throws.
Yeah, and part of that is Isaac, it's calling back to you have to know every position. Isaac's position is not meant to score. No, that's not what he's
his
for.
Only penalty kick, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they said the last time that happened, he took a kick, he broke the glass of Rebecca's office.
Yeah. And that's I had kind of forgotten that when Danny hands him the ball and Isaac has this look of complete panic, and then but yeah, no, that's why it's basketball. You're not allowed to hit anyone. In soccer, they get in fights. They're not supposed to, but they get in a lot of fights. And hockey, that is straight up the goal. Checking is just body slamming. I know that it's technically not just body slamming. There are rules and like cross checking and all that shit. It's your goal is to use the fact that you're all on ice to body slam other people into the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
You heard your NBA ad tackling.
So any last final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm not gonna go off on it. I just want to shout out the thank you and fuck you monologue.
Oh, I loved the
yeah.
thank you and fuck you monologue.
Yeah.
Shit.
I love my parents dearly. I still gotta call them today. But I feel like everybody wants to say thank you and fuck you to their parents at the same time.
Parents, a part of becoming an adult, I feel, is realizing that your parents are human who have their own history and trauma and rough things they have gone through. And there is a very adult thing of coming to the point where you can say, thank you for all of these amazing things you did to me. It doesn't underestimate the things that you did that had an adverse effect on me. And just because you're my parent doesn't mean I'm not allowed to express my feelings about how you did these things. And I feel like death of a parent is one of those big things where like no one ever wants to go after the parent that was left surviving on how they handled the death, because that's such an unimaginable thing to go through that judging anyone's response is like fucked up. But parents are human. His mom was human. Her husband unexpectedly, trigger warning, unexpectedly killed himself. How do you deal with that? I don't know how do you do, and with a 15-year-old, like somebody, a child that can fully understand what's happening and what it means that his father shot himself, and like all of that crap that you go through with that's a lot to handle. And especially in somewhere like the Midwest Bible Belt area where therapy is, even if your family doesn't believe therapy is taboo, getting access to quality therapy for that kind of trauma and that kind of situation is not easy, especially, this happened when Ted was 16. So we're talking at least 20, 30 years ago? Like,
Easy, yeah.
but it doesn't mean that Ted being mad at his mom for how she handles things isn't valid.
Mm-hmm.
That's my soapbox on that. I love the process of humans discovering that their parents are also humans who have been through things and like gone through trauma. So I loved that moment. Oh.
Yeah, it's just I just liked the pattern there. Just thank you, but also fuck you.
And it is respectful in its own weird way, where he is saying, I see what you did that was to help me.
Yeah,
but
I feel like he wasn't saying the fuck you personally. I think he was using like the very general phrase of fuck you.
Yeah. And for a man that doesn't express his anger often and doesn't express anything beyond positive emotions, being able to stand there and say fuck you like that is just like oof. Because I've been saying sorry, I swear this will be the last thing, Alec. I've been saying for you since I started watching the show that like I wanted a moment where Ted went off the handle, and I realized when that fuck you, thank you monologue happened that like he doesn't have to. Not everybody feels catharsis by screaming and by losing. I don't like yelling. Like, he doesn't need to stand there and scream and rage and, all that kind of shit. He can have just this moment of, because the kind of person he is in his own vibe, he can have this moment where, yeah. And it doesn't make it any less difficult to hear as his mother or any how that scene was handled was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Let us know what your favorite moment was in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.